So, I've been telling you, like, we're getting ready to do this Ghost Hunters series at church, at Fuel.
Yeah.
All right, well, I have got a ghost story for you. A couple of hundred years ago, there was a Native American Indian tribe that lived here, the Osage tribe.
Course.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, there's this river.
Let me guess, the Osage?
I don't think so. Maybe. So, there was this Indian tribe that lived on the banks of this river, just right outside of Lebanon. And it was a couple hundred years ago, and the American colonies were pushing west. Well, because of that, they started pushing all the Native American tribes out of the state. Well, they got to this area, and they met the Osage. A military troop moved in to try to push these Osage Indians out. And there was one tribe that just would not leave. And so they tried to do whatever they could to get this tribe to leave. On the banks of this river, the troops crossed over this river at a small Native American bridge, and they captured the princess of a warrior chief. And they take her back across to on the other side of the river to where the military encampment was. And the whole tribe came up on one side of the bank, and the military troop was on the other. Basically said, "You will leave this area, or we will kill this Indian princess."
Let me guess, they didn't leave.
No, they didn't leave. And you guessed it, they killed her. Right?
Oh no.
Yeah, right on the banks of this river, right outside of Lebanon. Well, that didn't set so well with this Native American warrior chief. And so, in the middle of the night, while a few soldiers were on patrol on that Indian bridge, this warrior chief snuck ever so quietly onto this bridge. He let out a warrior Indian cry.
Let me hear it. What was it like?
Probably something like,
Sounds
like
legit.
that. Yeah, something like that. These two troops turned around, and it was too late.
And then what happened?
Well, the story goes that this Indian chief stole their eyes.
How would he steal their eyes?
I don't know. I don't know that part. I wasn't there. He stole their eyes.
Okay.
But here's where it gets really creepy.
All right, let's hear it.
So there's a bridge that stands today right outside of Lebanon where this old Indian bridge was.
Okay.
And the story goes that if you go to this bridge and you stand on this bridge at the exact time that this Indian princess was killed, and you close your eyes and you count backwards from 10.
Why 10?
I don't know.
Why not 5?
I don't know.
Okay.
That's just what they said.
Okay.
If you count back from 10, you will hear an Indian war cry.
Okay.
Like, or however it was. I don't know.
Okay.
Here's the scary part. They say that if you open your eyes and turn around to face the sound of the Indian warrior, then that Indian warrior's ghost will steal your eyes.
Okay. I want to check it out.
What? Wait, what?
I want to check out this bridge.
You actually want to go to the bridge?
Yes, and there will not be a war cry.
Are you sure about that?
I'm pretty sure.
Okay, so just me and you.
Just me and you.
At night, and you're willing to close your eyes
I will close my eyes.
and count backwards from 10.
I thought 5.
No, it's 10!
Okay, 10, yes.
Yeah, okay. All right, and I will film the whole thing.
Yep.
All right, I can't wait to see this. Okay, so let's go right now. Let's go to the bridge,
Okay, let's do it.
and we'll see what happens. All right, so we are here at Lambeth Bridge. It is pitch black outside, and we are here. There is fog all around. This bridge is straight up creepy. We're going to film a little bit here on Lambeth Bridge, and when when it gets to the right time, where I guess if Noah's brave enough, we're gonna see if this is really true.
Oh yeah.
All right, Noah, are you all set up and ready to go?
It's a little loose.
Here, let's do a test. Can you see me? Here, look
No,
forward. Look
I
down.
can't.
Look at me. Look down. Hi, Noah.
Hi.
All right, are you ready for this?
Yeah.
Let me ask you a little question.
Yeah.
So, you got injured
Yeah, I did.
at a football game.
Yeah.
Let's check out that injury.
Look at that baby.
So, I have one question. Let's just say on the off chance, the chance,
Off chance.
okay, the small chance,
Micro.
okay, that this story is true.
The decimal chance that this might be true. Where are you getting that?
How are you going to get off this bridge? It is a long bridge, Noah.
Long.
We have to stand in the middle of this bridge. How are you going to get off the bridge and keep your eyes?
Well, even with the gimp leg, I think I can run faster than you. So I think that's all I have to do.
So all you're saying is that as long as you run faster than me, then you're okay.
Yeah, kind of like a bear attack, yeah.
Thanks a lot. This is the spot right up here.
Don't make fun of me, quit. This doesn't even look creepy enough.
Okay, well look, the reason why I know this is the spot is because they said whenever I did some more research on this legend that you had to stand right in the middle of the river. And you were right. It's the Osage.
Oh, yeah. I'm
It's the
good.
Osage.
I'm good. I told you. Look,
Yeah, it's the Osage
see,
Fork.
I know that, so I know there's not going to be an Indian, all right? See that?
So we're almost there. We've got like 2 minutes to spare right in the middle of the river. All right, so if we were going to test this theoretically,
Very theoretically.
then what we would have to do is we'd have to face one direction. Let's see, I'll just stand here, you stand there.
Why am I closer?
Closer to what?
Why am I shark bait?
I don't know what you mean.
Okay, whatever. Hey, what am I not supposed to do?
You're not supposed to count back from 10.
I thought it was 5.
No, it's 10!
Okay, what else am I not supposed to do?
Well, theoretically, if you count back from 10, you're supposed to hear an Indian war cry, and then you're not supposed to turn it around.
I'm not supposed to turn around.
Right.
Wasn't there something on my eyes?
Yes, you're supposed to keep your eyes closed.
I'm supposed to keep them closed or open?
No, you're supposed to keep them closed.
You mean like 10,
Stop!
5,
Noah,
6,
I'm serious. This is...
5,
Stop it!
4, 3, 2,
Stop!
1. No. Someone's messing with me. What? That's you. That's not. There's no way that's the Indian. No, quit. Wait. That was you.
Noah, don't look. Okay, now.
No, that was you. They
I'm
sounded
right
just-
here. It was not me. I'm right here. I heard it too.
Okay, but who is that? Who'd you hire? Huh?
Nobody else is here. It's me and you. That was not me. I promise you. That was not me. I am standing right here recording you.
Then what was that?
I don't know. I heard it too.
Can I turn around?
No! You cannot. Don't do it. Don't. Noah, don't.
What is that?
I'm out. Come on, Noah. Hurry up.
I'm trying.
Noah. Yeah, you can hear it. Come on.
Stop! Dad, wait, Dad! I can't! Dad! Ouch!
Noah? Noah! Noah, where are you? This isn't funny. Where did Okay, I don't know where he is. I don't know what happened. All I know is we heard something. I don't know what it was. We heard something. I started running and I don't know where he is. I gotta go find him. Noah! Noah! Where are you? Noah! 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 Where are you? Noah! Noah! Noah? Noah? Are you okay? Noah! Buddy? Are you alright? Hello? My name is Noah Smons. No! Good morning, Life Point. Yes, some of you are getting that just now, still getting that. Some of my teenagers still haven't gotten it. It's okay. It is an absolute privilege for me able to be here this morning and share with you. I am super excited that I get to be a part of the last episode in the Horns and Halos series for this week. I know that Kelly and Bridget are having an amazing time in Brazil, and if you've been able to follow any of Kelly's posts on social media, you'll see what an incredible experience it has been for them. I cannot wait for them to get home and share with us some of the amazing experiences they've had there in Brazil. They've been able to be hosted by the 4th largest church in the world, which is completely amazing. I think I was reading that there's like 32,000 people that are scattered throughout that entire region in house churches all over, and they all come together and claim themselves as one big family. So that's an amazing thing, and I know that they are learning lots and lots of things that are going to be so important for us here at LifePoint. So I was ecstatic when Kelly said, hey, I want you to preach this last message in the Horns and Halos series. I'm like, I can do that. And he talked to me about this in, I don't know, August, a long, long time ago. So I started thinking about and dreaming and planning and writing down all these notes about what I wanted to share with you. And I was really excited about what it might look like. And then Kelly started preaching the Horns and Halos series. And wouldn't you know, he stole everything that I wanted to share with this last, but he did it way better than I ever could. So I'm okay with that. He did a good job. But I got to thinking, and I talked to Kelly some more, and I thought, you know, I really want to share with the entire church some of the things that we've experienced in Fuel the last few weeks. And this particular message in particular, I thought, was very fitting to where we were. So I talked to him about that. And yes, it will tie into Horns and Halos, I promise. But I wanted to share with you just a little bit about this message that we talked about in Fuel a few weeks ago called Don't Look Back. Now, this video that I showed you has very, very little to do with what I want to share with you today. But the only part of it that I want you to understand, that the whole reason why I even made it and played it, the most important thing to think about this entire message is don't look back. Don't look back. But the other reason why I did it is because I want to do a shameless plug for Fuel Student Ministries. If you are seeking a place to serve and you like to be around high energy, lots and lots and lots of crazy, kids, then you need to come find me and talk to me about serving in Fuel. It is an amazing opportunity for you to see some incredible, raw, real life change, because that is what's happening every single week with hundreds of teenagers over across the street at downtown at Fuel. So the plug's over. Come find me. There's an actual place on the app you can click on, and you can actually fill out a form if you're interested in serving. But come find me and talk to me. I would love to tell you more about Fuel. Don't look back. Now, that was a made-up story, completely made up, not true at all. There isn't a single part about that's true whatsoever. Except the bridge is really there. I didn't make that up. I'm not that good. But here is a true story that I do want to tell you. A story that's being proven even today by archaeologists around the world. And this story, true story, takes place about 3,700 years ago in a city along the eastern banks of the Dead Sea, which is now the country of Jordan. I want to tell you about what happened in this town 3,700 years ago. And if you actually want to know more or read along or follow along, you can. It's found in Genesis chapter 18 and 19. But I want to tell you about what happened in this town. Now, this is back in the days of Abraham, the father of our faith. In the days of Abraham, there was this city or two cities called Sodom and Gomorrah. Now, the people that had lived there in that city, which I did some research, there was probably about 12 to 1,500 people that lived in this town. The people that lived in this city had completely turned away from God. They didn't care one thing about God. They didn't care about doing right. They didn't care about following in the footsteps of Abraham or in their father God. As a matter of fact, if I was to just kind of define this entire city, if I was to maybe name this city after what they were known for, then I would simply just call it City of Sin. Now, I'm not going to go into any time or any detail talking about the expansive list of sins that were going on in Sodom and Gomorrah. And if you're interested, you can find it in Genesis 18 and 19. But I do want to share some about what happened in Sodom and Gomorrah. See, this whole entire town was completely cruel and perverted. Yes, I said the word perverted. And if you were like my teenagers, then inside you kind of giggled a little bit. Now, Abraham, the father of our faith, had a nephew, and his name was Lot. And Lot's entire family, his wife and kids, they all lived in this wonderful place called Sodom and Gomorrah. Now, the Bible does say that Lot was a righteous man, that he did care about God, that he tried to do what God wanted him to do, but he still lived with his family in this wretched, wretched place. Now, I know that the vast majority of you already know this story. You already know everything that there is to know about Sodom and Gomorrah. So I'm not going to go into great detail. But I want to sum up to you this morning what happened here so that I can create a foundation to where we're headed. See, God was just flat out disgusted with what was happening in this town. And as I was reading and I was studying about how the wording of what God was saying to Abraham about this town, I kept thinking over and over again about the words that God was saying to Noah in Genesis 6 about how he was grieved that he even made mankind. And once again, God is so disturbed with his creation that he begins to start making plans to wipe them out. As a matter of fact, God even sends a couple of angels ahead to Sodom to check it out. And he begins to talk to Abraham, and he begins to share these plans of what he has in store. Now, obviously, this starts to make Abraham just a little bit nervous. I mean, he has every right to be nervous. His nephew, who he knows is living there with his nephews and nieces. And so Abraham, he kind of raises his hand from the back of the classroom, and he says, God, I got to ask you something here. I mean, you're not really going to kill all the good people too, right? Like, you're not going to kill the righteous people also. I mean, you're going to spare them. Let's just say, God, that maybe there's 50 righteous people in the town of Sodom. Would you spare them then? And God, who I think has an incredible sense of humor, he already knows how this conversation is going to go, and yet God just lets him keep talking. God is like, yes, Abraham, if there's 50 righteous people in all of Sodom, I will spare them. Then Abraham, he's like, shoot, I don't know that I even know 50 righteous people in Sodom. So he's like, wait a minute, God. I know I shouldn't even ask this, but let's just say, what if there's 45? 45 people that are righteous in Sodom. Would you spare them then? And again, God says yes. And so then God starts thinking about, okay, Dave, no, he's not. And then Matt, no, I know he's not. And we know Sarah's not. Oh, starts counting, and he's like, not even 45. And he's counting on his toes. He says, God, how about if there were 40?
And then Abraham and God kind of start playing this, this game of auctioneer. Abraham's, how like 40? And God's nodding his head to the ring man. How about 30, 30, 30? Can I get a 30? And God's like, yes, yes, yes. And he says, okay, God, how about a 20, a 20, 20? Give me 20, 20. And God says, yes, yes, yes. And then he says, okay, give me 10, give me 10, give me 10. And finally God says, I'll tell you what, Abraham, if there are 10 righteous people in all of Sodom, I will spare the city. Now, Abraham has got to be patting himself on the back right about this time. He has to think for sure that he has just saved an entire city from destruction. Surely there has to be 10 righteous people in all of Sodom. So, shortly after this very strange conversation, the two angels that God had sent finally arrive at the city gates of Sodom and Gomorrah to see if there were at least 10 good people there. Now, Abraham's nephew, Lot, sees these angels approach the gate, and he rushes out to meet them, like a very, almost a nervous, excited. And he's like, hello, welcome to Sodom. And the angels are like, hello. And he's like, where are you going? We're going to go to the city square and we're going to spend the night. And Lot's like, no, you're not. You are not going to spend the night on the streets. You are going to come to my house. And the angel's like, no, it's okay. We don't want to impose. We're just going to stay. And Lot goes like, you do not understand. It is not, you will not want what's going to happen to you if you stay in the city square. You come stay in my house. So the angels agree. And they go stay in Lot's house. So, they all sit down for dinner. That's pretty cool to actually sit down to dinner with some angels, although they don't realize that they're angels. And Kelly talked about that a couple of weeks ago when he said, always be on your guard because you don't know if you're serving angels in disguise. And that's exactly what was happening here with Lot. Lot was serving angels in disguise. And as they're eating this dinner, all of a sudden the men from this town, they start beating on the doors and they start yelling inside. And they tell Lot to send out their guests so that they can welcome them to the town. And that's a welcome they do not want, believe me. And Lot's, he goes out there and he starts talking to the men. He says, go away. You guys do not just go away. We don't want to have any part of this. Believe me, these are righteous men. You don't want to have any part of this. And he closes the door, and then the people just start beating on the walls of his house, so much so that they thought the walls were going to collapse. Once again, Lot goes outside and tries to reason with them, and they're just going crazy because they don't want to just say hello, if I can put it any simpler than that. They are trying to make these angels their own. And so it's dangerous. Lot is in extreme danger. So the Bible says that the angels pull Lot back inside and poof, they do some sort of magic, something only angels can do, supernatural thing, and all of those villagers in Sodom and Gomorrah go blind and they're able to escape out the door. Now, that is a big, long background for where we're headed this morning. This is what the angels say to Lot. You and your family have to leave this place. God is going to destroy it. Early the next morning, in the pale of the light, before the sun has risen, you have got to get out of this place. Take your wife, take your daughters, leave everything. If you do not leave, you are going to die just like everybody else, just like those men out in the street. And the Bible says the Lot was so afraid that he couldn't even move. I would be very, very afraid as well. So the angels, they actually grab him by the hand, and they grab the hands of the wives and the daughters, and they begin to lead them out of the city. And as soon as they're free from the city, this is what the angels say. Flee for your lives. Don't look back. Don't look back. Can you guys say that with me? Don't look back. He said those words. Don't look back. An angel from God said those words. Don't look back. And don't stop anywhere in the plains. Flee to the mountains, or you will be swept away. Then the Bible goes on to say that God rained down fire on the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah. Thick black smoke filled the air like smoke from a fiery furnace. But, there's always got to be a but in these stories, don't there? But Lot's wife just could not resist it, and you guessed it, even though the angels specifically told her not to, she turned around and poof, she turned into a what? Pillar of salt. Yep. So, let's do a real quick sum up here. There was a terrible place. God couldn't find 10 righteous people. And even worse, those people that were there, those unrighteous people attempted to rape angels that were sent there to save their city, to see how wicked they really were. It was not a good place. There was not good things happening. I've laid that foundation. Because now this is the most important part. I'm done talking about Sodom. I'm done talking about the terrible things that happened there. Because now I want to focus on Lot's wife. See, Lot's wife, she's a short little blip on the radar of life. But that short little blip can teach us so much. And that is exactly what I want to do with the remaining time that we have together. See, this is the reason why. It's because there's a little bit of Lot's wife in each and every one of us. Every single one of us has a past. Every single one of us have made some lousy doozies of choices in our lives. Every single one of us has chosen to sin in our lives. Now, some of us, we've come to this place of realization where we can actually look at sin and realize that it's some sort of spectacular exercise in self-focus and self-worship. We've come to realize that sin really is selfishness. And because of that, we've also come to know and learn that saving faith is the only thing that can save us from sin's power. And that saving faith enables us to choose God's wants over what we want. And that saving faith then allows our wants to begin to align to what God has for us. And that saving faith then allows us to want to glorify God, our Maker, our Creator, instead of glorifying ourselves. But if some of us are honest with ourselves this morning, we could probably do some self-reflection and realize that we do still harbor places of self-worship in our heart of hearts. And some of us, as we conquer one area of sin in our lives, we're actually just trading it for another. Like maybe we're conquering one area, and because we've conquered that area, now we're trading it for pride. And what we're discovering is that no matter how hard we try, our past is still pulling us farther and farther back. See, it's not just enough for us to recognize and regret the sin in our past. In order to leave it in the past, in order to walk forward, not only do we have to recognize and regret it, but we have to hate it. And this is where I begin to think about Lot's wife. See, we learned a little bit about her past. She raised her family in this town known for sexually immoral sins. And she had to be physically dragged from her home, led by the angels. Check the rearview mirror and presto changeo, turned into your favorite popcorn flavoring. But as we look at this closer, I want you guys to understand that her brief story, it has a lot to teach us. See, when the Bible uses the phrase in Hebrew that she looked back, it wasn't just a physical looking back. The Bible translation actually means that she regarded, that she considered, or she paid attention to what was happening. In other words, dragged free of her life of self-focus and set on her way to freedom, Lot's wife looked longingly and lingeringly on her past and what it was she was leaving behind, even as it was being consumed by a fiery wrath of God. I want you guys to understand, I think that a huge clue to understanding what actually was happening in Lot's wife can actually be summed up by what God decided to do to her. Now, He's God. He could have done anything. He could have just struck her down dead. He could have changed her into a turtle or something. I don't know. He could have done anything that He wanted to do. But God decided that what He was going to do when she looked back was to turn her into a pillar of salt. Now, to us modern people, salt just sounds like something that makes green beans taste better, right? Yes, yeah. But that is not the purpose of salt back in that time period. As a matter of fact, salt was more valuable than gold. And the reason why is because today we enjoy the benefits of refrigeration, and back then they did not. For thousands of years, the primary function of salt was not just as a seasoning, but as a preservative. I want you guys to know that this was a perfect metaphor to what was happening in Mrs. Lot. God decided to make permanent what was happening on the inside happen on the outside as well. You see, what if God had shown mercy to Lot's wife? What if she had been allowed to flee, even though she was still longing for Sodom? What would happen? The wickedness of Sodom would follow her to this better place. And all the time she would be harboring in her heart a love for her past. This virus would have followed her to her new home. It would have been preserved deep within her, just waiting for its chance to reemerge and affect other people. So, rather than allow this preserved, cherished memory of Sodom to continue, God decides to turn her into a pillar of salt exactly where she stood. Lot's wife became a memorial of the preservation of evil. She became a warning to all who might see her frozen in her half-turned gaze longing statue. So let me ask you this as we begin to wind things down. How many of you are Lot's wife? How many of you are preserving deep within you a memory of a sin happened in the years past? Is there any of you that would be willing to admit to yourself that you have seen sin infect your life, but for whatever reason, you have chosen not to hate it? Not only do you not hate it, but you linger on it. And you even think about the possibilities of re-engaging it, even though you know the freedom that comes from your relationship with Jesus. Think about this just for a minute. Let me ask you this question. Think about yourself right now at this very moment. If your spiritual gaze were to be frozen at this exact moment, poof, your spiritual gaze is frozen right where you're looking. What is it that you would be fixed on? I want to say that one more time. If your spiritual gaze is frozen at this exact moment, what would that gaze be fixed upon? Would it be fixed on past worries? Would it be fixed on past fears? Would it be fixed on your past doubts? If your spiritual gaze was fixed on right now, frozen in place, would it be fixed on sin? Or would it be fixed on Jesus? You see, every single day is a choice where we can either look forward toward life-giving grace that only comes from Jesus, or look backwards toward sin-saturated death that only comes from Satan himself. So, how would you be remembered? Would you be remembered as someone who preserved the pleasures of sin? Or would you be preserved as someone who sees what Jesus has done for you and change the lives of every single person that you meet? Now, this is the most amazing part of this whole story, and I got to fly through this because I'm running out of time. This is the part of the story that gives me goosebumps. This confirms to me that this is exactly what was happening with Lot when she was turned into a pillar of salt. And this is why this story is so important. Because 1,700 years later, after Mrs. Lot's preservation, Jesus speaks about Lot's wife. And he says this in Luke chapter 17, 32 and 33. He says this: "Remember Lot's wife. Whoever seeks to preserve his life will lose it. But whoever loses his life for my sake will keep it." You see, when we look back, we fail to see Jesus. We're taken away from his blessings and his protections that comes from following God exclusively. And our independence causes us to miss the mercy of God. I'm going to tell you, this is where it ties into horns and halos. I want you guys to understand, this is exactly what Satan wants you to do. This is his true purpose. He has built up this incredible charade. He wants us to look behind. He wants us to keep our focus in the past. He wants those sins to constantly be dragging us down. He wants us to replace one sin for another, for another, for another. He always wants us looking over our shoulder at what we have done, all the bad things that have happened in our lives. He wants us to always be ashamed and guilty and feel like we're unforgiven. He wants us to look back because he knows beyond a doubt that if we were to turn our gaze from what's behind us to what is in front of us, then what we would be doing is we would be staring at Jesus, the author and perfecter of our faith. He doesn't want us to keep walking backwards. He wants us to walk forwards. He wants you to stop longing for the sins of the past that so easily entangles, and Jesus wants you to turn to him, so that he can finish a mighty work in your heart. So to close, I want to ask you this question. Have you been drifting from the truth? Have you been wandering in your faith? Have you been neglecting your obedience to God? Have you taken your eyes off of Christ? Have you allowed the ghosts of the sins of your past to tempt you to turn back from what you know is true, what you know is right? You see, God wants you to know him. And yet some of you this morning, you're still choosing yourself. So I will ask you again, are you Lot's wife? Are you walking away from destruction? Or are you turning back and gazing upon it longingly? See, today is the day to learn from Lot's wife. And if you don't get anything else out of this message, 3 words. Don't look back. Don't look back. Today is the day for you to fix your eyes on Jesus, the author and perfecter of your faith. Would you guys stand with me as we close this morning? God, what an incredible, powerful illustration that you have given us in your word. God, it is my prayer that each and every one of us that's standing here today would be able to say boldly and confidently that our eyes are fixed on you. That God, our past is in our past, and we have turned from that. We have repented and turned away, and now we are marching towards you. That is my prayer. God, it is also my prayer that if there are those standing here this morning that can't say that they know beyond a shadow of a doubt that they keep looking over their shoulder, that they keep longing for, lingering on sin. That God, you'd begin to send your Holy Spirit to reveal yourself to them. That God, they would take this example of Lot's wife, this preservation, and that God, at this moment, you'd begin to do a mighty change in their heart. So that God, they would be able to walk boldly towards you instead of turning their backs. So God, this morning we are so thankful that we can be in your presence, that you sent your son Jesus to save us from our self-worship and our self-focus and our selfishness. And God, as we leave this place this morning, I pray that we will invite you to journey with us as we continue to serve you, as we continue to glorify you, and we continue to love as many people to your son Jesus as we can before we die, period. We love you, and we ask these things in your name. Amen. You're dismissed. If you'd like to come talk to me for anything, you're more than welcome. I'll be right up here on the stage.
There's revival and it's spreading like a wildfire.